Right now, millions of people are waking up and reaching for the exact same drink. They believe it boosts metabolism, protects the gut, even slows aging. And honestly, they are not entirely wrong. But here is the problem nobody is talking about. The timing of when you drink it can completely flip the script. What should be helping you might actually be working against you, not because the drink itself is bad, but because your body has rhythms, cycles, internal clocks that most people completely ignore. And when you ignore those rhythms, even the healthiest habit can backfire in ways you would never suspect. I am not saying this to scare you. I am saying this because after years of watching people follow generic wellness advice without understanding the science behind it, I have seen too many good intentions lead to frustrating results. So if you have been drinking this every single morning without thinking twice, stay with me, because by the end of this video, you will know exactly when to drink it, when to avoid it, and the one timing mistake that could be cancelling out the benefits entirely. This is not about whether this drink is good or bad. It is about whether you are using it correctly. And I promise you, most people are not. Let us get into it. For decades, this drink has been praised as a morning essential. Health magazines recommended it. Wellness influencers swore by it. Your neighbor who looks 10 years younger than her actual age probably drinks it religiously. Your co-worker who never seems to get sick probably has a bottle sitting in her kitchen right now. I am talking about apple cider vinegar water. You have heard the claims. It balances blood sugar, it kickstarts digestion, it melts stubborn fat. Some people even call it nature's medicine cabinet in a bottle. Others say it is the closest thing we have to a natural fountain of youth. The internet is flooded with testimonials from people who swear it changed their lives. And look, there is actually real science behind some of these benefits. I am not here to tell you that apple cider vinegar is useless. That would be dishonest. The research shows that it does have measurable effects on certain aspects of health. There are legitimate studies backing up some of the claims. But here is where things went sideways. Somewhere along the way, we turned apple cider vinegar into a one-size-fits-all morning ritual. Wake up, drink it, do not ask questions. The earlier, the better. The more, the merrier. Just trust that it is working. Except that advice ignored something critical. It ignored the research on timing. It ignored how your body actually processes acetic acid at different points in the day. It ignored your circadian rhythm and digestive cycle. And it completely ignored the people who should never be drinking this on an empty stomach in the first place. The wellness industry loves simple solutions. But your body is not simple, it is incredibly complex, and what works at one time of day might not work at another. So what you are about to hear is not the old advice. This is what the newer research from 2023 and 2024 is starting to reveal. This is what the studies are actually showing when you dig deeper than the headlines. And trust me, it changes everything about how and when you should be using this drink. Before we dive deeper, drop a comment right now. Tell me your age and where you are watching from. I am genuinely curious about who is in this community and what brought you here. Are you already drinking ACV daily? Have you tried it and stopped? I want to know. Now, let us break this down. I am going to give you 7 truths about apple cider vinegar that most people never hear. These are the things that get left out of the viral posts and quick tips. We are counting down from number 7 to number 1, and number 1 might be the most important timing rule of all. So stay with me through this entire countdown. Each point builds on the last. Number 7. Your stomach lining is not as tough as you think. Here is a truth that most morning ACV drinkers do not want to hear. When you wake up, your stomach lining is essentially unprotected. You have not eaten in 8 or more hours. Maybe 10 or 12 if you ate an early dinner. The mucosal barrier that shields your gut is at its thinnest. Your stomach is in its most vulnerable state. Now imagine pouring straight acetic acid into that environment. Apple cider vinegar has a pH of around 2 to 3. To put that in perspective, that is roughly the same acidity as lemon juice or pure stomach acid. That is highly acidic. And while a healthy stomach can handle acid, there is a significant difference between handling it and thriving with it. Your stomach was designed to produce its own acid in response to food. It was not designed to receive an acid bath first thing in the morning when nothing else is present. For some people, drinking ACV on a completely empty stomach causes irritation, burning sensations, or that vague nausea that lingers for hours. You know, that unsettled feeling in your gut that you cannot quite explain. Others experience acid reflux that was not there before, heartburn that seems to come from nowhere. And the frustrating part is they blame other things: stress, aging, bad sleep, something they ate yesterday. They never consider that their miracle morning drink might be the culprit. They never make the connection. So here is the practical fix. If you insist on drinking ACV in the morning, have a small amount of food first. Even a handful of nuts or a few bites of toast creates a buffer. A banana, some yogurt, a piece of cheese, anything that gives your stomach something to work with before the acid arrives. That simple layer of protection can mean the difference between absorption and irritation, between getting the benefits and creating a new problem you did not have before. Who needs to be especially careful here? Anyone with a history of gastritis, ulcers, or chronic acid reflux should be extremely cautious. If your stomach already runs sensitive, introducing concentrated acidity first thing is playing with fire. You might be making an existing problem significantly worse. Number 6. The blood sugar timing trap. You have probably heard that apple cider vinegar helps regulate blood sugar. This is one of the most popular claims, and honestly, it is one of the most researched. And the research does support this to some degree. Studies have shown that acetic acid can slow down how quickly your body absorbs carbohydrates from a meal, which leads to a gentler rise in glucose rather than a sharp spike. For anyone concerned about blood sugar, this sounds like incredible news. Sounds perfect, right? Drink it in the morning and your blood sugar stays balanced all day. One simple habit that protects you around the clock. Except that is not quite how it works, and this is where the timing trap catches most people. The blood sugar benefit is most pronounced when ACV is consumed close to or during a meal that contains carbohydrates. The acetic acid needs to be present in your digestive system when the carbs arrive. That is when it can actually do its job of slowing absorption. Drinking it hours before you eat, or on an empty stomach with no food in sight, does not give you the same effect. You are essentially timing the intervention wrong. It is like putting on sunscreen after you have already been in the sun for 3 hours. The timing matters. Think of it like this. If blood sugar management is your goal, you want the acetic acid present in your system when those carbs arrive, not 2 hours earlier when there is nothing to slow down. The mechanism requires the presence of food. Without food, you are just drinking acidic water. Here is the smarter approach. Take your diluted ACV about 15 to 20 minutes before a meal, or sip it during the meal itself. That is the window where research suggests the blood sugar blunting effect is strongest. Some studies even show benefits when you drink it immediately after a carbohydrate-rich meal. The key is proximity to food, not proximity to waking up. Who should be extra cautious? If you are taking medication for diabetes or blood sugar management, this is absolutely not something to experiment with on your own. The combination of medication and ACV can sometimes lower blood sugar too much, leading to hypoglycemia. That means shakiness, confusion, dizziness, and in serious cases, dangerous drops in blood sugar. Always loop in your doctor or pharmacist before adding ACV to your routine if you are on these types of medications. Number 5. Your tooth enamel cannot regenerate. This one is rarely discussed, and it absolutely should be. It might be the most overlooked consequence of daily ACV consumption, and once you understand it, you cannot ignore it. Your tooth enamel, that hard outer layer protecting your teeth, does not grow back. Unlike bones, unlike skin, unlike most tissues in your body, enamel cannot regenerate. Once it is gone for good. No supplement will bring it back. No special toothpaste will restore it. The damage is permanent and irreversible. Apple cider vinegar, with its high acidity, can absolutely erode enamel over time. Every single exposure weakens that protective layer just a little bit more. And the worst possible scenario is drinking it undiluted, first thing in the morning, swishing it around your mouth like mouthwash. I have seen comments from people who did exactly that for months. They read somewhere that swishing ACV was good for oral health. They thought they were doing something healthy. They were committed to their routine. Then they started noticing sensitivity, sharp pain when eating ice cream, discomfort when drinking hot coffee, teeth that ached when drinking cold water. Then came the discoloration, the yellowish tint that would not go away. The damage was already done, and no dentist could undo it. Here is how to protect yourself. Always, always dilute your ACV. 1 to 2 tablespoons in a full glass of water is the standard recommendation. Never drink it straight. Never let undiluted vinegar touch your teeth. And here is a trick most people miss. Drink it through a straw. This minimizes contact with your teeth and directs the liquid toward the back of your throat. It sounds simple, almost too simple, but it makes a meaningful difference over time. After drinking, wait at least 30 minutes before brushing your teeth. Brushing immediately can actually spread the acid around and accelerate enamel wear. The bristles push the acidic residue into the tiny grooves of your teeth. Rinse with plain water first. Let your saliva neutralize the acid. Then brush later. Who should be especially careful? If you already have sensitive teeth, thin enamel, or a history of dental erosion, ACV might not be worth the trade-off. Speak with your dentist about whether this habit is safe for your specific situation. Your teeth have to last the rest of your life. Number 4, medication interference. Nobody mentions. Let me tell you about Linda. She is 62, lives in Ohio, and has been taking blood pressure medication for 5 years. After some initial adjustments, her numbers were finally stable. Her doctor was happy. She was happy. Everything seemed under control. Then she started reading about the benefits of apple cider vinegar, weight management, heart health, natural support for healthy aging. It seemed perfect. It seemed like exactly what she needed to complement her existing routine. So she added a glass of diluted ACV to her morning routine, same time every day, right alongside her pills. Figured if she was already taking her medication in the morning, she might as well add her new healthy habit at the same time. Efficiency. Within a few weeks, she started feeling lightheaded, dizzy spells that came out of nowhere, especially when standing up quickly. She assumed it was stress, maybe dehydration. Maybe she was just tired. It never occurred to her that the ACV was interfering with how her body absorbed her medication. Here is what the research suggests. Apple cider vinegar can affect potassium levels in the body. It can alter stomach acidity, which influences how certain medications dissolve and enter your bloodstream. And for some drugs, particularly diuretics, insulin, and certain heart medications, this creates an unpredictable interaction. Linda was essentially changing how her blood pressure medication worked without realizing it. Her blood pressure was dropping too low because the medication was hitting her system differently. The practical rule: never take ACV at the same time as your medications. If you are committed to both, separate them by at least 2 hours. Give your body time to process each one independently. And more importantly, talk to your pharmacist. This is literally their area of expertise. They can tell you whether your specific medications carry a risk when combined with acidic substances. Who needs to be cautious here? Anyone on prescription medication, especially for chronic conditions, should treat ACV as a supplement that requires professional guidance. Do not assume it is harmless just because it is natural. Natural does not mean risk-free. Some of the most powerful substances in the world come from nature. Number 3, the afternoon cortisol problem. Your body runs on a hormonal clock. Every hormone follows a daily rhythm. And cortisol, your main stress hormone, has one of the most important patterns. Cortisol naturally peaks in the morning, usually around 30 minutes after you wake up. This surge helps you feel alert and energized. Then, throughout the afternoon and evening, cortisol gradually declines. By nighttime, it should be at its lowest, allowing your body to relax and eventually fall into deep sleep. This rhythm is essential. When it works properly, you have energy during the day and rest at night. When it gets disrupted, everything falls apart. Here is what most people do not realize. Acetic acid can influence cortisol production, and drinking ACV later in the afternoon or evening may subtly elevate stress hormones at a time when your body is trying to wind down. Some people, this manifests as restless evenings, that inability to relax even when exhausted, trouble falling asleep despite feeling tired, that wired but tired feeling that keeps you staring at the ceiling at midnight. They never connect it to the ACV they drank at 4 in the afternoon. They blame stress, they blame their phone, they blame the news. They never consider that their healthy habit might be part of the problem. Here is the smarter approach. If you're going to drink ACV, keep it in the first half of your day, morning or early afternoon at the latest. This aligns with your natural cortisol curve and avoids any interference with your evening wind down. Think of it as matching your habits to your biology rather than fighting against it. Who should pay attention here? Anyone struggling with sleep issues, chronic stress, or adrenal fatigue should be especially mindful of afternoon acidic beverages. The timing alone can make a bigger difference than you might expect. Sometimes the solution is not changing what you do, but when you do it. Number 2. The pre-workout mistake. There is a popular belief floating around fitness communities that drinking ACV before exercise gives you an energy boost. The logic seems reasonable on the surface. Stabilize blood sugar, improve endurance, feel stronger, start your workout with a metabolic advantage. But the reality is more complicated. And for some people, this advice completely backfires. First, drinking an acidic beverage right before physical exertion can cause stomach discomfort, especially during high-intensity activities, running, jumping, anything with impact. The jostling and increased abdominal pressure do not mix well with a gut full of vinegar water. I have heard from people who experience nausea mid-workout, cramping, that sloshing sensation that makes every movement uncomfortable. Second, if you are exercising on an empty stomach with only ACV in your system, you may actually feel weaker, not stronger. Your muscles need fuel. Glycogen stores need to be available. ACV alone does not provide calories or energy. You are essentially asking your body to work hard while giving it nothing to work with. Third, the blood sugar blunting effect can work against you here. If you are trying to access quick energy for a workout, slowing down glucose absorption might leave you feeling flat. Here is the better strategy. If you work out in the morning, eat a small meal first and consider your ACV afterward, not before. Give your body fuel, complete your workout, then take your vinegar with your post-workout meal when it can support blood sugar management without hurting performance. Who should be careful? Athletes, active older adults, and anyone doing fasted training should be particularly cautious about pre-workout ACV. The last thing you want is to feel nauseous or weak mid-exercise because of a timing error. Number 1. The longevity timing connection. Now we arrive at the most important finding, and this is where recent research from 2023 and 2024 starts to paint a bigger picture. Several large-scale observational studies have examined dietary patterns associated with metabolic health and longevity markers. Researchers have looked at populations around the world, studying what the healthiest and longest-lived people actually do. What they are beginning to notice is fascinating. In populations where fermented foods and acetic acid sources are consumed regularly, there appear to be associations with improved metabolic flexibility, healthier body composition, better insulin sensitivity, and in some cases, better markers of cardiovascular function. These are exactly the kinds of outcomes that predict how well you age. But, and this is crucial, these associations tend to be strongest when the consumption is consistent, moderate, and aligned with meals. Not random, not excessive, not first thing in the morning on an empty stomach. The people who seem to benefit most are not chugging apple cider vinegar like it is a magic potion. They are not doing shots of it and hoping for miracles. They are integrating it thoughtfully into a broader pattern of eating, small amounts, at predictable times. This is how traditional cultures have used vinegar for centuries, as a condiment, as a digestive aid during meals, part of food rather than separate from it. They were not drinking it by the glass on an empty stomach. They were using it the way it was meant to be used. What this suggests, and I want to be careful here because this is observational data and not proof of causation, is that the how and when may matter just as much as whether you drink it at all. You could be consuming the exact same amount of ACV as someone getting tremendous benefits, but getting completely different results, simply because of timing. Same substance, same quantity, different outcomes. This is the central thread running through everything we have discussed today. Apple cider vinegar is not inherently good or bad. It is not a miracle. It is not poison. It is context dependent, timing dependent, individual dependent. The benefits are real, but they require the right conditions to manifest. And the risks are also real when you ignore the timing factors. That nuance is exactly what gets lost in the viral headlines. So after all of this, what should you actually do? Let me give you a simple protocol that accounts for everything we have covered. 4 steps. Easy to remember. Step 1. Dilute properly. 1 to 2 tablespoons of raw, unfiltered apple cider vinegar in a full 8-ounce glass of water. No exceptions. Never drink it straight. Step 2. Drink it with or near a meal. 15 to 20 minutes before eating or during the meal itself is the optimal window for blood sugar benefits and stomach protection. Step 3. Keep it in the first half of your day, morning or early afternoon. Avoid late afternoon or evening to protect your sleep and cortisol rhythm. Step 4. Separate it from medications by at least 2 hours. And if you take prescription drugs for chronic conditions, consult your doctor or pharmacist before making ACV a regular habit. That is it. 4 steps. Simple, sustainable, and backed by what the research actually suggests, rather than what the internet myths have led us to believe. Now, a critical note before we wrap up. Everything in this video is for educational purposes only. This is not medical advice. I am not your doctor, and I do not know your personal health history, your medications, or your specific conditions. Apple cider vinegar affects people differently. What works beautifully for one person might cause problems for another. Genetics matter. Existing conditions matter. Medications matter. Age matters. If you have any chronic health condition, take prescription medications, are pregnant or nursing, or have concerns about how ACV might affect you, please consult a qualified healthcare professional before starting or changing anything. The goal here is to inform you, not to replace the guidance of someone who knows your individual situation. Use this information as a starting point for a conversation with your doctor. All right, we covered a lot today. 7 truths that most people never hear about. Apple cider vinegar, stomach protection, blood sugar timing, tooth enamel, medication interactions, cortisol rhythms, workout performance, and the longevity research that ties it all together. Now, I want to hear from you. How do you take your apple cider vinegar? Morning, evening, with food, without, before meals or after? Let me know in the comments. Has it ever backfired for you? Maybe you experienced some of the issues we talked about today. The stomach discomfort, the tooth sensitivity, the sleep disruption, the medication interaction. Share your story. Your experience might help someone else avoid the same mistake. If this video gave you something to think about, I am constantly diving into these kinds of topics, separating the real science from the viral myths and giving you the practical guidance you can actually use. Thanks for watching, take care of yourself, and I will see you in the next one.